Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to the channel. Today is a very special day. You will know it's true. My name is Norf, but as I say, today is a very special day because today is the first time ever that I am live streaming on the channel. You would not believe the amount of chaos that has happened today to get me to this point. But I am so excited to see everyone that is on the channel. Thank you so much for watching live. If you're catching this on the replay, absolutely fine. I totally understand. It depends wherever you are in the world. You might be fast asleep, you might be wide awake, or in meetings. So as I say, it's great to have you here. It's true. My name is Norf. And today's video, well, it was going to be a video, but I wasn't particularly well over the weekend, which is part of the reason why I'm live today on the channel. But you know that I'm a huge fan of presentations. And as the world is beginning to open up, we've got to, if you will, blow the dust off our presentation skills, a little bit like getting an old book and going and getting rid of all of that dust. So when it comes to presentations, there are some people that have managed to lock down and ensure that their presentation skills are very good, not just in person, but also virtually during the craziness that we've had over the last 18 months or so. But as the world is beginning to open up, we do need to blow the dust off our presentation skills. So when it comes to these presentation skills in today's live stream, there's just a few things that I want to cover off. There's actually three elements that I want to cover off in today's live stream. First and foremost, we're going to start with something that's really straightforward and easy, and that is our voice. If ever we're doing presentations or we're doing live streams or we're recording, one of the things that we have to do with our voice is to warm our voice, a little bit like singers do. So you'll note some really great singers of our time, some singers that are no longer with us. But what they would do is they would perform scales to warm up their voice. They wouldn't want to cause their larynx an injury. So one of the things that you have to do is warm your voice. And if you're presenting, one of the things that you can do to warm your voice is either to do scales in public or private. That's completely up to you. But you could perform scales, or you could just have a conversation for about 15 to 20 minutes. That will be enough to warm your voice up. The other thing that you can do, and this is what voiceover artists do, they will go from as low as they can in their register all the way up and down to the bottom again, just simply humming. Something like that. That is not to be replayed and taken out of context, by the way, but that is something that voiceover artists will do. So whenever you are preparing to deliver a presentation, the easiest thing that you can do is to make sure that your voice is completely warm. Also, with your voice, make sure that you are using vocal inflections. And what I mean by vocal inflections, and you will know this, I'm not a fan of monotone. I don't think anyone on the face of this planet is a fan of monotone. And what I mean by monotone is, let's say, for example, you've got a really exciting product that you want to talk about. This is a fantastic product. Let me use this as an example. This is a fantastic product. Let me now switch into monotone. This really is a fantastic product. I'm really excited to be able to bring this to market and introduce you to this exciting new product. Really? Surely if you're excited about a product like this, that should come through in your voice. So as you're speaking about whatever product it is or service or feature, whatever it is, bring some of that excitement to life. If you've spent hours and hours crafting a particular product and you've created a new feature, you really should be excited about it. So make sure that that comes across in your voice. Now, I can hear you saying, Norf, to be fair, we're not all like you. We're not all textbook ENFP. So what can we do to get excitement in our voice? You may have seen one of my previous videos where I talk about the concept of, it's actually Amy Cuddy's concept, where she talks about the the Wonder Woman or the Buzz Lightyear. It's all about configuring your body to have more testosterone, or the dominance hormone, in your system, and less cortisol, which is the stress hormone in your system. So one of the things that you can do before you get ready to deliver a presentation is to stand for 2 minutes just posing like the Wonder Woman. Feel free. You can choose to do that in public. I would probably recommend that you do that in private, but that will configure your body for success to have more testosterone in your system and less cortisol in your system. With your body configured and your voice warmed up, you'll be able to bring a level of excitement talking about the feature, product, or whatever it is you have to present. You'll notice that I'm actually sat down presenting, but I'm using vocal inflections. Why? Because I'm quite passionate about the subject of really great presentations. So please, 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 whenever you do present, stand up. Honestly, standing up. You very rarely see singers sitting down, like singers who will really be able to belt out what they're singing, to have real energy and emphasis on what they're singing. You might have someone singing in a piano or playing a guitar, but typically, if you look at singers, they tend to be standing up. Why? Physiologically, you want to open your diaphragm, and by standing up, it allows you it affords you the ability to be able to stand up and project your voice. So whenever you are presenting, stand up, make sure that your voice is warmed, and make sure that you have previously done the Wonder Woman or the Buzz Lightyear. You choose, completely up to you. All right, okay, so I'm just seeing some of the comments coming in, and it's great to see everyone here. Yes, absolutely, 3 things. Indeed, Smallscape, Joanna, it's great to have you here. Typically it is 3 things. You know that I'm a big fan of the number 3, so great to see you here. Yes, and absolutely, Spoke Audio, Robert, it's good to have you with us as well. I am a big fan of the number 3. So we just looked at voice and being able to project your voice and having your voice nice and warm for what you're going to be delivering. The second thing that I want to talk about are rock stars. We all love great rock stars, right? We are a big fan of rock stars. However, when you're presenting, you don't physically want to be a rock star. What do I mean by that? Now, I may well give some of you, I might get you seasick a little bit, but when it comes to rock stars, you may well have seen presenters doing this, or perhaps moving from side to side as they're presenting. Now, I've seen this a number of times, and it may well be that actually, if you're doing this, you don't physically know that you're doing it. So, as a bonus tip, if you are presenting, make sure that you record yourself and play back your content. But I'll come to the playback in a second. So, rock stars, we want to avoid rock stars either if we're sitting down or if we're on stage. Why? It will cause people to get seasick. So if you have the ability to stand on stage, make sure that your feet are planted about hip distance apart. Point them out as well. So you're firmly stood up. You are on the balls of your feet, not fully on the balls of your feet, but actually your knees are soft. You're leaning forward slightly and keep your feet planted. There are presenters that will move around. I am one of them as well. If I've got a large stage to work on, I'll work that stage by going to one side. I'll take probably 4 or 5 steps as I'm talking about my content, or I'm bringing a particular idea to life. I'll take 4 or 5 steps and then I'll stop. I'll finish making that point, and then I may well walk across the front of the stage, and that might be 5 or 6 steps. Again, making my point, making sure that I'm working both sides of a large audience. If it is, I'll come to that point and then I'll stop and I'll finish my point. And then at that point, I'll walk back to the original place where I started. Think of it as a triangle. So I'm starting in one point. I might well move off to my left and I might go 4 or 5 paces. I'll stop. I'll make my point. I'll then move on to the next thing that I'm going to bring to life. And I might well walk across the stage at that point, 4 or 5 steps. Again, it depends how big the stage is. I'll then stop, make my point, and then I'll walk back to the original location that I was at. So ensure that if you are working a big stage or you've got an arena that you're in, or it might just be you're at the front of a meeting room, feel free to work that space. Make sure that you've got all the distractions and chairs and tables out of the way. So if you do happen to be one of those people that you do like to walk around, make sure that your space is clear, but walk in a triangle. One, two, maybe 3 or 4 steps, stop, make your point, and then move along to the front facing part of that triangle, stop, make your point, and then move back to the original place where you are. You may have heard me talk about a story that that happened to me when I was in Sweden, and it's all about making sure that your technology works really, really well. This wasn't great at the time, but it was a lot of fun. I have to say now, looking back on it, I was out in Sweden. I had to present to about 250 delegates. The screen, as you may recall, was 13 meters wide, which is about 36 feet, and 4 meters high, which is about 13 feet. Beautiful pixels on that screen, razor sharp images. They really did look very, very good indeed. And it was my turn to present. The host called me up onto stage. I had a little opening music. I came up onto the steps, and the stage was huge. It really was my sort of thing. I looked down into the preview monitor, and those weren't my slides. So I leant back and I said to the IT guy who was just off to my left, dude, these are not my slides. Could I get my slides up, please? Whilst talking to the audience, of course. He, of course, went, yeah, that's fine. Really sorry about that. Got my slides up. No problem at all. I then started presenting. And about 5 minutes in, everything on the screen went black behind me. What do you do? It's a presenter's nightmare. Just as that point happened, just as everything went black, in my mind, I'm thinking, this really is not good. What was I saying? What do I need to say now? But fortunately, because I'd rehearsed, I'd practiced, and I practiced about, yes, you've guessed it, 3 times. That's the magic number for me. Because I'd practiced about 3 times, I was able to just continue. Now, it is a bit of a panic, right? It's not a nice thing to happen. It is every presenter's nightmare. But because I'd practiced, I kept going. I knew where I needed to take people, so I just kept going. The IT guy managed to bring the slides back up. 3 minutes after that, everything failed again. Again, I just had to keep going without the support of the slides behind me. Fine. 4 times the presentation software failed on me when I was up in Sweden. But because I knew my content, I was able to continue. So make sure that when you are ready to deliver your presentation, that you've done your practice. You've practiced, you've refined, practiced and refined. So a little bit earlier, I talked about your voice, making sure that your voice is nice and warm, that you're able to project what's going on. This is probably the third and most difficult thing to work on, and it will take time for you to work on this. Filler words. You may have heard me use one earlier. I used the word or Some people will use the word like, and it's just a word that connects one section to another section of a phrase. But if you know what you're doing, you're able to remove those filler words. And that's where I referred to recording your delivery. Now, I had the opportunity to record this and just to make sure that I had all of the content together, that I knew what I was talking about. So I recorded it earlier and I played it back. And there were some things that even I saw at my ripe old age of being able to present relatively well. There were some things that I actually looked at and thought, right, I need to change that. I need to refine that. So playback, you heard me use the term earlier, playback is something critical that you need to use. So whenever you're delivering a presentation, set up a smartphone, have someone record it for you. If you can, get the AV team, if you have an AV team there, to record not just the video, but also the audio as well. Take that away, go back, watch it first without listening, then listen back to it without watching, and then put both of those together. And you'll be surprised of the things that you'll be able to glean from that. The things that you glean, what I want you to do is I want you to take 3, yes, it is the magic number. I know you're all laughing at me, but there are 3 things that I want you to take out from that. So, what are the 3 positive things that you saw from your playback, both watching and listening? What were the 3 things, the 3 great things that you could take away from your playback? So, for example, your voice may have been great. You were using inflections. You were using your gestures really well, open handed gestures as opposed to pointing. And then what's the one thing, what's the one update or the one thing that you could look to improve? So, 3 positive things. What went well? And then take one thing to take away as an opportunity for upgrade. What things could you get better at? And you know me, presentation skills, well, I believe presentations are skills that we need for the work for tomorrow. And that includes being able to deliver high value, high impact, memorable presentations. So, those were the 3 things that I wanted to share with you today in this really short live stream. The first thing that we talked about today was your voice, making sure that your voice is nice and warm, that you've spent the time to warm it up in either the calm and quiet of your car, or you've had a conversation, or you've done something that voiceover artists do, which is to hum very softly, but to go from the bottom of your register all the way to the top and back down again. Do that a few times. The second thing that we talked about is being a rock star. Of course, when you come off stage and you've delivered a really highly impactful presentation, it's at that point that you become a rock star, not on stage where you are rocking side to side or rocking backwards and forwards. And then the third thing to look at is filler words. And the way to help you deal with filler words is to record either your practice or to record your main delivery. If you can get that recording, watch it back first without listening, listen back to it without watching, and then do those 2 elements together. So watch, don't listen, listen, don't watch, and then do those 2 elements together. That is it. That is all I wanted to share with you today. I will have some more tips and tricks coming up a little bit later. So I'm just going to jump to some of the comments here. It's great to see so many people on. Joanne from Smallscape, great to see you here. I am so excited that you're here. Craig, great to have you on as well, my friend. Thank you very much for the support. Really, really appreciate it. Of course, Jonathan, the Lord Gladwin, he is here as well. Thank you so much again for joining me today. I'm really, really excited that there are so many people on. So thank you for joining me for this very special live stream. If you've got any questions, do drop them into the chat. I will get to those questions as I'm just scrolling through the chat at the moment. Spoke Audio says it's the Wonder Woman for me. Publicly, I have no shame. And good on you. Good on you, Robert. I think that's all good. Go for the Wonder Woman. Absolutely. All right. So I know that, let me see, are there any more comments on here? Truly making this look easy. I knew it would be amazing. Robert, thank you so much. You are very kind, my friend. Thank you, thank you, thank you so much indeed. And yeah, we got Chi-Town representing. Indeed. Thank you so much, Joanne. Joanne, great to have you here. So again, guys, if you've got comments, drop them into the chat. As you know, I am a big fan of the number 3. So if you found this useful, please do 3 things for me. If you like the content, please do consider subscribing to the channel. Also, make sure that you give us a thumbs up as well. That really does help. And also hit the bell notification so you don't miss out on when I upload brand new content to the channel. Okay, right. So I've got a question come in from Jonathan. Thank you very much indeed, Jonathan, for the question. You're obviously a very confident presenter. Any advice on boosting confidence on stage? That is a very, very good question, actually, Jonathan. So one of the things that I used to do, and you may know this, I was training to be a radio presenter. And one of the things I used to do was to record all of my shows on cassette tape. Those will not see the light of day just before you even think about it. They will not see the light of day. But one of the things that we did is we recorded our shows. Now, if you're a person and I'm not one of these, but if you're a person who tends to speak very, very quickly, dependent on who's in your audience, you may well have to dial that back a bit, particularly if English is not their first language. So again, you've got to cognitively think about who's in the room. Who am I talking about? What am I bringing to the audience? What's going to be in it for them? And I want them to capture every single element of what I'm going to be talking about. So for me, I'll just need to dial back the speed at which I speak to ensure that all of my words are measured, the pitch of my words is correctly done, and the power and enthusiasm of what I'm talking about also comes to life. When you are on stage, you may think, actually, I'm nervous. But actually, if you tell yourself it's excitement, that's a whole different mindset altogether. The reason is the feeling of nervousness and excitement are broadly the same. So if you tell yourself that you're nervous, you're going to be stepping into nerves. However, if you tell yourself that you're excited, like I say, that's a whole different mindset altogether. Another element of being able to boost confidence is just the practice. Practice at home, practice in front of your siblings, practice in front of your parents, practice in front of a cat. Practice really does make, no, not perfect. Practice makes positive progress. So the more you do something, the better you will become. But that is a really, really good question, Jonathan. Thank you very much indeed for that. Right, we've got another question here from Joanne from the Smallscape. Norf, your simple approach and tips to presenting are so very helpful, especially for those of us who find presenting on YouTube overwhelming. Joanne, to be fair, it really is overwhelming to be sat in front of a camera with no one else behind you, or even sat in front of a camera with people behind you. You really have to have spent time practicing and crafting the skill of being able to present down the barrel of a piece of glass. And it really is a skill. I've had conversations with lots of people who say, yeah, I can present, no problem. They get up on stage and actually they fall flat on their faces. So one of the key things that you have to do really is to practice. Practice, refine, practice, refine. If you're going to do anything for 8 hours a day, you'll know that notion. But if you're going to do anything for 8 hours a day, you will become good at it. So the more you do this, Joanne, the better you will become. I've seen your content, and you know what? It's exceptional. It's exceptional. So keep going, keep doing what you're doing. I love watching your stuff on the Smallscape, Joanne. So thank you so much indeed. Another question here from Craig, moving about. Yes, you gave me these tips for my presentation interview, and watching myself back helped contain these. Good advice for recording yourself and reviewing. 100% recommend. Thank you indeed, Craig. Yes, you're absolutely right. Indeed. The lost tapes, they're not lost. They are in my home. I've put them under lock and key. So there's absolutely no way that anyone will be able to find these tapes. So thank you very much, Spoke Audio. All right, let's see what other questions we have in the chat. Please keep your questions coming in, prepared to answer them. What you may not see here actually is things that I've prepared. And you know that I'm a huge fan of pencil and paper. And here, you may not be able to see it actually, but here are my notes that I've got written down. There you go. You might be able to see that now. So I've got my notes written down here, and they're in mind map form. And if you're looking to present something that really is quite boring, maybe it's you're presenting numbers, or you're presenting something, let's say you're talking about a pencil, there are some really cool things that you could pull out as features to talk about a pencil, for example. But if you come across as quite bland about it, you're not going to excite your audience about a pencil. Whereas if you've spent the time mind mapping it, there are certain elements that you could pull out about the pencil. So for example, for me, pencils are eco-friendly. For me, I like hearing the sound of the lead working on paper. It brings it all to life. It helps me as a textbook right brainer to listen to these noises and to just have fun with using an old school method of crafting words. For me, I love pencil and paper. Now, that may not have sounded particularly exciting. That was just off the top of my head, but I love using pencil and paper. It really is a great medium to use. All right, we got another question that's come in from Spoke Audio. Robert, great question. Working on a presentation using Keynote to give me a guide. Okay. I tend to lose my train of thought. This will keep my notes. This will keep my notes to keep me centered. Any tips? For me, always pencil and paper, and you'll see this. Obviously, you haven't seen it at the moment because it's out of shot. But one of the things that I will do is just, and if I just show you this here, so you can see that just around here, going clockwise, I've got my first point, I've got my second point, my third point, and then any tertiary points I put underneath. So if you've got just a small piece of paper next to you, if you do come up with a thought, you can scratch that down, but also you can have a very cheeky look down and see exactly where you were. So again, practice, refine is one of the key things for presenting. If you're using Keynote as well, one of the key things that you could do is use two screens. So I've got my Mac just in front of me here, that's screen one, and I've got screen two behind me here. If you're presenting virtually, if you have presenter mode, and I don't know what the equivalent would be for Keynote, if you've got presenter mode on, you can have notes to the right-hand side. It certainly is like that in PowerPoint. You can have the slide that you're currently presenting. You've got the slide that is next, and then just underneath your next slide will be any notes. Bonus tip, make sure that your notes are in bullet point form. Because you've spent the time practicing, all you need are just bullet points to help you remember where you were and where you need to get to next. But that's a great question, Robert. Thank you very much for that. All right. So for now, that looks to be all the questions in the chat. Thank you so much for your comments. Yet Robert's just put up here, Keynote does have presenter mode. It is my go-to every single time. Run two screens, run presenter mode, and share the screen that has the current slide on. It is every presenter's cheat. It is so good to have that. All right. Thank you so much, everyone, for being here. I am so stoked that you all made it. You made a little bit of time for me today in your very busy schedules. So again, this has been the first live stream. I will go back and I will watch this. I'm sure there are things that I'd like to improve on this. But as I say, if you do like the content, please do give me a thumbs up. Also, be sure to subscribe to the channel as well. And remember to hit the bell notification so you don't miss out on when I upload brand new content to the channel. Again, thank you so much for being here, and I will see you next time.